So, I'm getting assessed for autism. Exactly what the title says. I feel like this has been a long time coming. I've always been so different from the people around me, and the farther back you go, the more drastic those differences seem to get. I remember having the uncontrollable compulsion to pick up trash when I was 6 years old. I'd be walking and see an old torn-off eraser. In my pencil case it would go. A random dirty scrap of paper. In my pencil case it would go. By the end of the school day, my pockets would be bursting with trash, as would my pencil case, my lunchbox, and sometimes even my socks, when I'd exhausted all other possibilities for storage. There's probably some kind of psychology to it. I was a lonely kid, so maybe I didn't like seeing things abandoned and ignored, even if they were inanimate. OCD is probably the first thing that comes to a lot of people's minds. I felt like if I didn't obey my brain that something utterly catastrophic would happen, and sometimes the stuff my brain threatened me with wouldn't even make sense. Like my arm wouldn't be my arm anymore, it would just be traded out for someone else's arm, and I liked my arm, so I would do what my brain told me. The spelling words we would have to write always tripped me up. I was good at spelling, but my brain would impose all these extra rules on me. If we had to write our spelling words 3 times each, my brain would tell me to write them 42 times each, stuff like that. And I'd fill my papers front and back. I'd write up and down the sides, because if I didn't do that, something catastrophic would happen. I'd have to touch things a certain number of times. I'd have to step on cracks in the hallway, then the next day I'd have to not step on cracks in the hallway. My mind was very mercurial, capricious. It was a tyrant, and it was constantly leaving me miserable and scared. I was also very, very asocial. I could go all day without saying a single word. For whatever reason, I just could not bring myself to interact. Interaction was exhausting. Silence was a comfort. And in this little cage of gold I'd sit, all day, every day. I usually didn't speak unless spoken to, and a lot of little kids are shy, but this wordlessness followed me into middle school and beyond. I didn't seem to be growing out of it. In elementary school, again I think I was like 6, we had a fun day, and those things were hardly ever fun for me. All the kids got to go out in the parking lot to play, and there was an adjoining playground and a field. But all I cared about was swinging, really, because that was one of the few activities you could do alone. Usually at recess I'd just head straight to the swings, but on this occasion the swings were all taken, so I just stood in the middle of the parking lot, as the other kids flowed around me. I stared into the distance at the sky for what must have been an hour, 2 hours. I really didn't know what else to do. My saving grace came when the bottom fell out and it started raining. In the prologue, I watched the sky darken and felt the sprinkles, and it was a nice feeling. Everyone else was so disappointed when we had to go in. There was grumbling and groaning all around, but it was such a relief for me. I was really happy about it. We got to watch, I think, like Scooby-Doo for the rest of the day. In a way, I guess I felt seen by God, and if the teachers and chaperones couldn't be bothered to notice me, it felt good to be seen by God. Everybody else got their turn at happiness, so why shouldn't I get mine? I've always been pretty paranoid too. I remember when I was younger, I locked myself in my room because I thought the ghost of Liberace was trying to kill me. Yes, that Liberace, and no, I'm not making that up. A guy on a show I watched had referred to him as the King of Bling, and at the time I had a character in one of my stories who went by that moniker, so I started thinking I'd accidentally stolen Liberace's nickname, and I got really scared he'd be upset with me, but as it turns out, I don't even think King of Bling was Liberace's nickname, it was just the newscaster being witty, so false alarm. Hindsight is 20/20. It's pretty obvious now how ridiculous that sounds, but at the time I was inconsolable. It would have been pretty funny looking back, had I not been 12 years old. 12 years old is almost a teenager, so I suppose it's a combination of funny and concerning. Even more concerning is all the episodes of paranoia I've had since then, from thinking Elon Musk was sending assassins for my head, yes, that Elon Musk, and no, I am not making that up, to thinking I'm going to get swatted by the FBI, and there's some self-awareness in all the fear, but self-awareness doesn't always save you. You can have a "this is stupid" moment amid all your panic, but that doesn't always take the edge off, and you realize if something is real enough to you to occupy this much of your mental real estate, to cost you actual tears, then it's real enough to take seriously. After the paranoia subsides, retrospect often lets the light in, but until then, you're caught up in this uncanny valley of emotion. Rationally, 1, Elon Musk doesn't know I exist. 2, he's too preoccupied with other things to worry about some random girl in a room full of squishmallows. 3, Liberace died before I was even born, so the odds of Elon Musk getting privy to my existence actually look plausible by comparison. I bring all this up because OCD, asocial tendencies, and irrational paranoia all go hand in glove with autism. To trace all this dysfunction to a source, it would probably give more solace than anything. To know that there's a definite reason and I'm not just like this. My dad's side of the family has always been rife with a lot of mental stuff, to the point where it's almost regarded like a curse of the bloodline. Awful coping skills, OCD perfectionism. You struggle through life until one day you just break, or go crazy. My grandfather killed himself over a decade before I was even born. My dad killed himself in 2023. I hear stories of my grandfather and it's almost one-to-one with autism. Looking back, I think my dad had it too. And I've reached the edge of this strange awakening where I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't a family curse per se, maybe it's just a disorder, and nobody ever thought to consider that because we're so old-fashioned. Maybe if I can be the first confirmed case, it can help demystify our affliction a little better, and bring about a better understanding. I haven't got the results back as of this writing, but it'll be kind of interesting to hear what the professionals have to say. So yeah, that was a scripted ramble and a half. Anywho, if there's any opinions or experiences to be shared, opine in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.